So we want to load that chat screen if we are authenticated, and therefore in main Dart we need to swap this off screen for the chat screen if we do find out that we have a valid token. Now in the off section we did something similar, but there you saw that there are a couple of steps you need to do, or you need to take care about when you're managing the token on your own. The cool thing is, with Firebase and Firebase Auth, that entire token management is done for you. And therefore, swapping pages based on the auth status is extremely easy. We can replace our home widget here with a stream builder. I showed you the stream builder earlier already. Now this takes a stream and then a builder argument. Now for the stream, I'll here not take my Cloud Firestore, but instead my Firebase Auth package, or a feature from that package. So I'll import package Firebase auth.dart. And then with that imported here, we can use Firebase auth.instance .onAuth state changed. And this gives us a stream. And this stream will emit a new value whenever the auth state changes. And the auth state changes when we sign up, when we log in, when we log out, but also when the app is loading, it will check if there is a cached token, and that caching and storage will be managed entirely by Firebase here, by the Firebase Flutter package. And if it finds such a token, it will validate that token. And if the token is valid, it will even use that token even after a new app startup. So that entire token storage and manage it across app restarts stuff is fully managed by Firebase here, which is extremely convenient. So we just need to listen to that stream, and then the builder here will fire whenever our auth status changes. Here we get the context and we get that user snapshot. And in this function, we then can return different widgets based on the user snapshot. We can check if the user snapshot has data, which means that we did find a token essentially. And in that case, we can return the chat screen. The chat screen here. Has data is a field that is available on the snapshot to, well, indicate whether we found some valid data. If we didn't find data, we'll return the auth screen, because then we need to authenticate. And if I now save this, you will see that the chat screen is here because I did sign up earlier. Firebase, as I explained multiple times, did take and store that token and manage it behind the scenes. And therefore, just by adding this code, Firebase checked if it had a token. It does, and therefore it logs us in and it renders the chat screen. Just like that, all managed behind the scenes. So that's why Firebase authentication is really amazing here. Now, to see it fully in action, logout functionality might also be nice. And therefore, I'll go to the chat screen, and here on the scaffold, I'll add an app bar, the default app bar. And this app bar will get a title, which can be a text widget where I say Flutter chat, anything like that. And more importantly than that, it will get some actions. Actions is an array of widgets. And there I want to add a drop-down button, which is a default widget that comes with Flutter. The drop-down button is able to render an icon, which is displayed in the action bar. And there I'll use the icon widget and then the more vert icon, which basically gives us 3 vertical dots. I'll also set the color here of the icon to theme of context primary color. Sorry, not primary, but primary icon theme dot color. Like this. Now this will render a nice drop-down button, which we see here, but this button doesn't do anything right now. So to make sure that it does, on the drop-down button, but outside of the icon, we set some items, which are the items that are shown when we click the drop-down button. And that again is a list of widgets. And here we typically render drop-down menu items. And that is a single item in that drop-down. And here I want to have one item. It has a child, where I will use a container. And that container has a child where I will use a row because I want to render two widgets next to each other here as a child in that dropdown. The two widgets next to each other should be an icon, so a regular icon widget, where I use the exit to app icon, and then a text widget where I say logout. And for some extra spacing, I'll add a third widget here, a sized box, where I set the width to 8. Now we also need to give this drop-down menu item a value, which will act as an identifier, and I'll just use logout here. The value is up to you. With that, back on the entire drop-down button here, you can add an onChanged argument, and that should be a function which gets the item identifier. So the value you specified here, if you had multiple items, you could find out which item was pressed by looking at the identifier. Here, of course, we have only one item. Still, for completeness sake, I'll check if item identifier is equal to logout, which it of course should be here, since that's our only item. And if that's the case, I want to log out. For this, I'll again use the Firebase auth package. So package Firebase auth.dart. And here, we can then call Firebase auth.instance.signout. And this will log the user out. With all of that, now we can open this, and if I click logout, I'm back here. Because this signs the user out, it will automatically destroy the token, and it will emit a new event here on the auth state changed stream. And there we will find out that we no longer have a token, so we won't make it into this if statement, and instead this auth screen is returned again. And therefore now, if I log in again here, you of course see that we go back to the chat screen. So that works, that login and logout part works. So that was a lot of progress. Let me now talk briefly about some Firebase database rules, which are important when we talk about security on Firebase, before we then start working on the actual chat here.